Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about the Fall of Magic. So I got to play the Fall of Magic this past weekend at PAX Unplugged 2017. And by the way, this video will not contain any spoilers for the Fall of Magic game. Okay. All right, so I got to play the Fall of Magic at PAX Unplugged 2017 this past weekend. It was a truly unique game, and this game was absolutely, without a doubt, the highlight of my PAX Unplugged experience, which is very interesting because I don't think Fall of Magic was the best game that I played at PAX Unplugged, but it absolutely was the highlight of my experience. So I just want to talk a little bit about the game, how the game came about, my experiences from the game, what I think about the game now that I've played it rather than before it. Okay, so just want to talk about so I'm going to give a brief description of what Fall of Magic actually is. So the Fall of Magic is an incredibly unique game. It is a storytelling game, and I will say specifically, it is absolutely not a tabletop role-playing game. And the reason why is it does not have a game master, okay? It shares every other aspect of a tabletop role-playing game. It has dice, it's played at a table, it has a rule book, it has random outcomes. Well, actually, you know what? Yes, it does have random outcomes. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Predetermined, it has boundaries around its random outcomes, much more than any tabletop role-playing game. But it is a storytelling in the most purest sense of the word, storytelling. And I will say, storytelling games are really, really interesting because I feel like storytelling games often have they put a bad taste in a lot of tabletop role-player games' mouths, and it's kind of a dirty word, like, storytelling game, what is that? And honestly, storytelling games do have a lot of problems. And actually, my take on storytelling games is that I don't expect I'll ever be a person who plays a lot of storytelling games in my life, but I will say that I will be reading the rules for a lot of storytelling games. And the reason why is some of the coolest, most edgy rule systems come in storytelling games. And there's a ton of mechanics that happen in storytelling games that can be brought back over into the tabletop role-playing game market, okay? Now, the reason why storytelling games are so problematic is they really fully embrace this idea of they're not nearly as rigid on the rules. And already tabletop role-playing games are more flexible on rules than any board game. So, like, you're really on the edge of rules floppiness when you're dealing with storytelling games. Okay, all right, so now there's something very special about Fall of Magic. So in Fall of Magic, the story is there is a mage, a powerful magus. It's called a magus. And the magus is this powerful being who's essentially the most powerful wizard in a realm. And by the way, this is medium fantasy, okay? So it's medium fantasy world, okay? So it's kind of a generic medium fantasy world. And there are places in the game. So like Stormguard is a town, Barleytown is a town, the Mistwood is a specific location, Istalia is another location, Ravenhall is another location. So the game has these specific locations, okay? And it has these specific locations for a medium fantasy game, okay? So it really looks a lot like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, okay? And so the storytelling game, The Fall of Magic, is about a magus who gathers a group of adventurers, and they go on a journey together to determine why magic is failing, and specifically to address the issue of magic ending in their world. There are a lot of signs that magic is ending, and so this journey is these people going with the magus to determine what's going to be done about magic failing overall and in different ways, okay? the game has this structure where the character, and actually I will tell you this, one thing I loved a lot of things about this game. I really, really liked this game a lot, okay? And I think that every skilled tabletop role player should play it, right? I'm not sure that people who are, if you're a hack and slash fan, don't touch this with a 10-foot pole. Like, and I'm serious about that because, one, you're likely to have a bad experience, and you're likely to give other people a bad experience as well. Which that's just my opinion. It's my opinion. All right. Okay. Now let's continue talking about the Fall of Magic. This game is super, super unique, and this is a deep cut indie storytelling game. Okay. All right. So you have this structure where, this Magus, and by the way, the Magus is a central character in the story, and the Magus is controlled by every single player, and so every single player has access to the Magus, and additionally, they have access to their own player character, okay? So they have access to the Magus, and they have access to their own player character. And at each one of these locations, the way they work is just like a tabletop role-playing game in that you go around, and you could either take an action with the Magus, or you take an action with your player character, okay? Who comes from one of these locations, right? So the game has a very specific boundary, right? Now, one thing that's absolutely fascinating is when you're done with a game of, when you're done with a game of the Fall of Magic, and by the way, I played with a skilled group, okay? Now, the game is meant to be played with 4 players. We played with 5 players, okay? And we used an additional token to make that possible, okay? And our game took 3 hours and 10 minutes. And I think that the game could actually take a little longer or a little shorter. But generally, you need 2 to 4 hours to play this, which for, tabletop role-playing game fans, it's not a big deal. Every tabletop role-playing game fan out there has seen a 4-hour session. I think that's really the case nowadays. All right, so, and boy, man, we've seen a few that are longer than that. Okay, so Fall of Magic, it leads these characters through a journey, and you go through every single one of those locations, and there are additional locations to what I just mentioned. So you're going to go from Ravenhall to Barleytown to Stormguard to the Mistwood, and you're going to hit those ones at minimum, and you're going to go through to Astalia. You're going to go to all those locations at minimum, okay? And there's probably double that amount of locations within the game. And you're going to interact, and essentially you're taking an action at each location, okay? So that's the structure of the game, all right? I want to talk a little bit about the actual physical game and what it is. So the physical game is also super weird, okay? The box size does not match any box size of any board game on the market, and certainly not any tabletop role-playing game, right? It looks like a box that you would wrap. Actually, I think that's exactly what it is. I think the box for Fall of Magic is the same box you would use to put a gift wine in, a slim wine bottle that you're gifting to someone. That's the size of the box for Fall of Magic. In that box is a rule book. In that box is some cards. Okay, the cards are used very little in the game, but when they are used, it's important and it's really interesting, and it gives the game flavor. It adds some randomness at a point where randomness is really needed. It's really, really well done. Okay, then the last 2 components. Actually, it comes with a single 6-sider die, which is very nice. It's a fine die. The last two bits of this game are what really are the heart of this game. The physical aspects of the game are the following. A scroll, a cloth scroll. So the game comes with this cloth scroll, and it's literally I think it's 8 to 10 feet long. It's ridiculous, right? And it actually ridiculously good. I want to be clear. I love this game. This game was really, really cool. It has to be, I do want to be clear, it has to be the people you play with. You need to choose them very carefully. Okay, it's one of the few things you got to know about this game. Okay, all right. So you have this scroll. It's a cloth scroll, and the game is played on this cloth scroll. And so you roll it out in front of all the players, and then you literally like roll up one end and unroll the other, so that the landscape is constantly on this 2 or 3 foot area of the scroll that's always exposed, and then the rest is rolled up and not exposed, right? And that aspect of the game is absolutely brilliant. The scroll itself is beautiful, and one of the best. It's the best game board I've ever seen in my life, without a doubt. Like, nothing comes even close. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's ingenious, and it's cool. And I played this game at PAX Unplugged. We went upstairs into the expo hall, right? And we played this game between 7:50 p.m. and 11:05 p.m., right? And no less than 20 people passed, the tables we were at while we were playing this, and I would say about 1/3 of them would stop and would look, and some would just look and give us a smile. Some would ask us what we were playing. Some people would go, "That's Fall of Magic," and they knew what it was. But a lot of people had heard about it and read about it, but never played it. And before I played this, that's exactly where I was. I had heard about it, and I had read the entire rule set. By the way, you can download the rules for this for free online, which I highly recommend. Gives you an idea of what's in the game, and any game master out there, if you're a skilled game master, if you care about being a good game master for your players, you've got to read this rule set, right? Now, I'm pretty sure, like, only do that if it comes straight from the original provider, which I'm pretty sure mine did. All right, so I get some people send me PDFs. That's a whole conversation. All right, so, but if you can get a hold of this in a legal way, you should absolutely read the rule set. Okay, so you have the scroll, and the scroll is just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's really unique aspect, and it makes the game really unique. Okay, the next part of Fall of Magic is the coins. So it comes with 5 coins. 4 for the players and 1 for the Magus, okay? And the Magus is shared between all the players. These coins are gorgeous. They are absolutely gorgeous. They're narrative. They have a great feel. When you're waiting for your turn, you find yourself thumbing the coin, and like they're just fantastic. This, the actual physical game, the physical game parts of this game are just stellar. I cannot, it's hard to even tell you how good they were. It was really, really fantastic. So I was incredibly blessed to play this game at PAX. I highly recommend playing. Okay, so I want to talk about who should play this and who shouldn't. Okay, and actually that's another thing. So this is a storytelling game. It is not a tabletop role-playing game. But what's ironic is, in my opinion, the only people who could possibly play this game is a group of game masters. And that's exactly what happened at PAX Unplugged. So when I played this, I was playing with 4 other highly skilled game masters, all of them. And not even, and actually, I want to say this even beyond this, like, not just regular game masters. Like, if you got 5 incredibly skilled Dungeons and Dragons game masters, I'm not sure they could actually play this game. And the reason why is it really stresses you in ways that other games won't, okay? And so one of the things is you really need 5 incredibly skilled game masters, and game masters who have dipped to their toe or submerged themselves entirely in the indie tabletop role-playing game market, which is really ironic, okay? So that's me just talking a little bit about Fall of Magic, which I was super blessed. It was the absolute highlight of my PAX Unplugged experience. If money is no object, buy this, okay? It is expensive, and I will say right now, I'm not sure that anybody who owned this would ever play it more than 2 or 3 times. So be wary about. Now, we're fortunate in tabletop role-playing games. Often, people who play tabletop role-playing games have a lot of of extra spending money. And so if you do, this is a great game to add to your collection. And if you're really into storytelling games, this is like the king of storytelling games. So that's my take on Fall of Magic. Take care.